Now, the federal budget boosted some welfare payments for Aussies in need, but there's been criticism that it didn't do much to help with the cost of living crisis we're all facing. And financial woes can also take a toll on our relationships. Psychotherapist Lissy Abrahams joins us now to talk about how to navigate these stressful times. Lissy, thanks so much for joining us on the show today. Older Australians and single parents have been granted some relief in last night's budget, but many have been left out in the cold. It has a devastating effect on us psychologically. Maybe you can talk to us a bit about that.
It really does, and it's not universal in the effect that it has. It very much depends on how we've been wired up internally around money. So for all of us sitting here, we all have a different idea about what money means to us. For some people, it represents having a sense of self-worth. And if we don't have money, then that's going to have a psychological impact of shame. It'll bring up a lot of shame for us. If we have it to have a sense of control, if we start to feel out of control because we don't have enough money, then what we're going to find is that we're going to become anxious, maybe even distressed about that. So they're very, very tied together. For a lot of us, it's about safety and security. If we don't feel safe and secure, what's going to happen to us psychologically? So we're going to experience a threat in our psychological state, and because it's not a quick fix, we're going to have this in an enduring way for a very long period of time, and even weeks, months, potentially years. So what we're doing is we're having that threat response, which is our survival response of fight and flight, where we're going to constantly be flooded with adrenaline, cortisol, all the stress hormones, our heart rates are going to race, everything's going to be kind of on high alert. And we're going to suffer for that because there's long-term health consequences
that affects you physically as well as mentally.
Absolutely.
So you've got some stats on Aussies doing it tough. Almost 2/3 are stressed about their financial future. More than half are concerned about their level of debt. And a quarter of households are just struggling to get by. They're big numbers.
They're massive numbers, and there are some who, the ones who aren't even getting by, there are some who are $100 in debt. 11% of Australians are $100 in debt every month once they've paid their expenses. There's no buffer.
No.
So if they need some tyres, they're going to be really struggling to even work out how to do that for their car.
Incredible.
So it's got this ongoing effect, and they're very real people behind those numbers. These are people who aren't sleeping. These are people taking it out on their children.
So what can we do if we find ourselves in that position? Because many people are living paycheck to paycheck. It's having a huge impact on relationships as well. If you're unlucky enough to be at that point, I mean, how can you get that back? I mean, what can we be doing?
Well, I think it's very important for people to start working on their relationships in particular because, as I said before, money represents different things, and you're going to find that in a couple, and they're going to have that fight or flight response going off all the time between them. So what they really need to do is start thinking about how do we bring a non-judgmental approach to how we've been wired up, because we didn't choose it. It was shaped, but we didn't choose how we are with money. But we can choose it once we know how we've been wired up. If we don't know, we don't know. So we need to understand that together. And there are books in libraries about this. I know I've got a book, Relationship Reset, in the library, but we've also got to get educated about finances. And it's not as hard as we think. I think a lot of us bury our heads and we have to pull our heads out of the sand and not ostrich. It's not too big.
You said you've got your book. You can also get more information or you can get support by heading to lissyabrahams.com. Lissy, thanks so much for joining us today. It's very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now,